Good evening, everyone. You know, we live in a world that moves at lightning speed between deadlines, expectations, comparisons, and constant notifications. It's easy to lose ourselves, to forget who we are, what we want, and why we started in the first place. But every night, before you close your eyes, I want you to give yourself one simple gift: truth. Not the loud kind of truth shouted on social media, not the filtered, polished version we curate for the world. I'm talking about the raw, silent truth that only you can hear, the voice inside you that knows your worth, your purpose, and your dreams. Every night before sleep, remind yourself, you are enough. It's such a simple sentence, but in a world that constantly makes you feel like you need to be more, do more, achieve more, it can be the hardest thing to believe. We live in a time where self-worth is often measured by likes, job titles, numbers on a scale, or someone else's opinion. Every scroll on social media shows a highlight reel of someone else's life, someone else's success, beauty, or perfection. And in that constant comparison, it's easy to start feeling like you're not measuring up, like you're somehow less than. But let me tell you something that no one else can take away from you. You, as you are right now. Not tomorrow, not 5 pounds lighter, not with a better salary or more followers. You are already enough. Being enough doesn't mean you don't have room to grow or improve. It doesn't mean you stop dreaming big or pushing yourself toward goals. It means that your worth is not conditional. It isn't waiting for you at the end of some imaginary finish line. It's here right now, built into who you are. You are enough in your quiet days and your powerful ones. You're enough in your wins and your losses. You are worthy even when the world doesn't clap for you. And especially on the days when no one sees how hard you're trying. Those are the days when it matters most to remember it. There's a voice in your head, sometimes small, sometimes loud, that questions if you're doing enough, if you're being enough. That voice is shaped by years of criticism, by perfectionism, by unrealistic standards you didn't ask for. But just because that voice is loud doesn't make it true. You don't need to earn the right to exist. You don't need to hustle for your worth. You don't need to apologize for taking up space. You being here is a miracle. The fact that your heart is still beating despite everything you've faced is proof that you were built to be here just as you are. So the next time you're tempted to shrink yourself to make others comfortable, don't. When you feel like you have to prove your value by pleasing everyone, stop. When you feel like you're falling behind in the invisible race that life becomes, breathe. You were not born to be a copy of someone else's expectations. You were born to be real, to be flawed, to be human. And in that humanity, in your kindness, your effort, your honesty, your care, you are more than enough. Start speaking to yourself with the love and respect you give to others. Stop tearing yourself apart for not being perfect in a world that doesn't even know what perfect is. The truth is, we're all just figuring it out. And that's okay. No one has it all together, even if it looks like they do. The person you think has the perfect life also battles with insecurity, doubt, and fear, just like you. And just like them, you deserve to live your life without constantly questioning if you are worthy. Before you go to sleep tonight, pause for a moment. Let go of everything you think you should have done better today. Let go of the weight of proving. And just remind yourself, I am enough. Say it softly, say it loudly, say it until your soul starts to believe it. You don't have to wait until you've achieved everything to love yourself. You don't have to become someone else to be valuable. You can start now, right here, with all your imperfections, with all your light. Because the world doesn't need another perfect person. The world needs you, your heart, your story, your voice, your truth. You are enough. And that truth is the most powerful thing you can carry with you into tomorrow. Everyone is on a journey. Some paths are clear, straight, and sunny, while others are winding, full of shadows, and difficult to navigate. But no matter what your road looks like, it's yours. And that alone makes it worthy of respect. Too often we fall into the trap of comparing our lives to others, thinking we're somehow behind or missing something. But here's the truth. There is no universal timeline, no fixed schedule that determines when you should have it all figured out. The pressure to hit milestones by a certain age is not only unrealistic, it's damaging. Your journey is yours alone. It doesn't have to look like anyone else's. Maybe your career is still in progress. Maybe your relationships are complicated. Maybe you haven't found your purpose yet. That's okay. Life isn't a race. It's not a competition. And success doesn't come with a stopwatch. What matters more than how fast you're going is that you're moving in alignment with who you are. That you're staying true to your values, your pace, your passion. Sometimes you might feel stuck, like you're in a season where nothing is growing, nothing is moving, and everything feels uncertain. But seasons change. Just because you can't see the progress doesn't mean it isn't happening. Growth often happens in silence, under the surface, away from the spotlight. Be patient with yourself. There are no deadlines for healing, for learning, for starting over. Some people figure it out in their 20s, others bloom in their 50s. There's no wrong time to arrive. And yes, it's hard not to look at someone else and wonder, why am I not there yet? But you're not behind. You're just on a different path. Maybe the lessons you're meant to learn take a little more time. Maybe the strength you're building now will serve you in ways you can't even imagine yet. Don't underestimate the value of your journey, no matter how unconventional it seems. The things you're learning, the experiences you're gathering, they all matter. Every step, even the ones that feel like detours or setbacks, is shaping you into someone stronger, wiser, and more grounded. When you honor your own journey, something powerful happens. You stop needing to compare. You stop chasing someone else's definition of success. You start to notice the small wins, the quiet progress, the meaningful connections along the way. You start to build a life that's not just impressive on the outside, but fulfilling on the inside. You deserve to be proud of how far you've come, even if you're not where you want to be yet. The fact that you're still trying, still showing up, still believing in yourself, that's brave. That's enough. Life doesn't come with a map. Most of us are making it up as we go, learning through trial and error, heartbreak and hope, and there's beauty in that mess. There's strength in your resilience. So take the pressure off. You don't need to have it all figured out right now. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. Trust the timing of your life. Trust that where you are is not the end of the story. Keep going, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard, because every time you take another step forward, no matter how small, you're building something meaningful. At the end of the day, what makes your journey sacred isn't how fast you get there. It's who you become along the way, your compassion, your courage, your perseverance. Those are the things that define you. Not your resume, not your bank balance, not the number of boxes you've ticked off on someone else's checklist. So don't rush, don't force, don't compare. Move at the pace of grace. Live your truth, even if it looks different from the crowd. Your path is yours for a reason. Walk it proudly. And when you feel lost, remind yourself that even the most beautiful destinations are often reached by the most unexpected roads. Rest is not a weakness, it's a necessity. A powerful, often underrated act of self-respect. But in today's world, we've somehow been taught the opposite. We wear exhaustion like a badge of honor. We applaud those who hustle through burnout, who skip meals to meet deadlines, who brag about getting 4 hours of sleep as if that's something to be proud of. We glorify the grind, but at what cost? Somewhere along the line, the idea that constant productivity equals success took root. And now, the idea of slowing down feels like falling behind. We feel guilty when we take a break, anxious when we do nothing, and pressure to be in a constant state of achievement. But here's the truth you need to hear. Rest is not the opposite of success. It's part of it. You cannot pour from an empty cup. You cannot create, give, love, or build anything meaningful if you're constantly running on empty. Your mind, your body, your spirit, they all need space to breathe. Rest is not laziness, it's not giving up. It's the act of pausing so you can continue, so you can show up with clarity, energy, and purpose. It's about nature. Even the most vibrant trees shed their leaves and go quiet in winter. The soil rests before new crops grow. The sun sets so it can rise again. Everything in nature honors a rhythm of work and rest. But somehow we forget that we are part of nature too. We forget that rest is built into the rhythm of life for a reason. You don't have to earn rest by exhausting yourself. You don't have to finish every task or reach every goal before you're allowed to breathe. You deserve rest simply because you're human. And rest doesn't always mean sleep, though sleep is deeply important. Rest can look like quiet moments of solitude, laughter with people who feel like home, a walk with no destination, a book that has nothing to do with self-improvement. Rest is anything that brings you peace, that brings you back to yourself. And when you give yourself that space to rest, something incredible happens. You reconnect with your thoughts, with your creativity, with your inner voice. Solutions you were forcing suddenly become clear. Emotions you buried rise to the surface and begin to heal. The constant noise fades, and in that silence, you can finally hear what really matters. We often think we need to do more to become more, but sometimes we just need to be still, to let our bodies catch up with our hearts, to stop performing and start listening. You are not a machine. You're not meant to run endlessly without pause. And if you keep pushing past your limits, life will eventually force you to stop through illness, burnout, or emotional collapse. So why wait until it gets to that point? Give yourself permission to rest. Even if the world doesn't clap for it, even if your to-do list is still long, even if no one else understands, you don't need validation to honor your needs. You don't need to apologize for choosing your well-being. In fact, rest is one of the most radical things you can do in a culture that idolizes overwork. It's an act of rebellion. It's a quiet statement that says, I am worthy even when I am not producing. And that kind of self-worth, the kind that isn't dependent on doing, is the foundation for a truly meaningful life. The next time you feel guilty for resting, ask yourself, would I judge someone I love for taking a moment to breathe? Of course not. So why be so hard on yourself? The more you allow yourself to rest, the more you'll realize how much better life feels when you're not constantly chasing it. You'll make better decisions. You'll feel more connected to your purpose. You'll show up more fully in your relationships. Because when you take care of you, everything else becomes clearer. So tonight, let yourself exhale. Let go of the pressure to be everything to everyone. Let go of the illusion that rest is earned. You deserve it now, not later. Not when the inbox is empty or the work is done. Now. Because your worth is not in your doing, it's in your being. And being human means needing rest. So take it without guilt, without shame, without explanation. Just breathe, just be, and let that be enough. Faith is not always loud. It doesn't always come with thunderous declarations or perfect certainty. Sometimes faith is a quiet whisper inside your heart that simply says, keep going. It's the tiny flame that stays lit when everything else around you seems to be falling apart. And in a world filled with chaos, noise, and uncertainty, that kind of quiet, steady faith is more powerful than we often realize. Faith can mean different things to different people. For some, it's rooted in spirituality or religion. For others, it's a deep trust in life, in love, in the unseen possibilities that haven't yet arrived. But no matter how you define it, faith is what holds you steady when logic fails. It's what carries you when strength runs out. It's not about having all the answers. It's about believing there's a reason to keep seeking them. There will be times when life feels unfair, confusing, even cruel. You might face loss, rejection, disappointment, or heartbreak. Things may not go according to your carefully laid plans. In those moments, it's tempting to fall into despair, to believe that everything is meaningless. But that's where faith comes in, not to fix everything instantly, but to remind you that even this moment has meaning. Even pain can be a teacher, even uncertainty can be a doorway. Having faith doesn't mean you'll never struggle. It means you'll find strength in something greater than your circumstances. It means that even in the middle of darkness, you'll trust that the light still exists, even if you can't see it yet. That belief, no matter how small, is enough to keep you moving forward. Sometimes we think faith has to look like unshakable confidence. But more often it looks like doubt mixed with hope. It's getting up again after failure. It's choosing to try one more time. It's opening your heart to love even after being hurt. It's daring to believe that better days are coming even when all you see is rain. That's real faith. And it takes courage. In our fast-paced, results-driven world, we've been taught to only believe in what we can measure, what we can see. But so much of what truly matters in life, love, trust, healing, transformation, can be measured. They require belief. They require patience. They require faith. When you stop trying to control every outcome and instead surrender to the rhythm of life, something shifts. You begin to notice the quiet ways the universe supports you. The timing you didn't expect but ended up perfect. The doors that closed only to lead you to better ones. Faith teaches you to pause, to breathe, to trust that you're not alone. That even when you feel lost, there is a deeper path unfolding beneath your feet. That your story is still being written. And the pages ahead might surprise you in the most beautiful ways. It's okay if your faith wavers. It's okay if some days you feel strong and other days you feel unsure. That doesn't make your belief any less real. It makes you human. Faith isn't about never falling. It's about having the courage to rise again, even with shaky hands. It's about holding on when every part of you wants to let go. So when life gets overwhelming, when you feel like you're drowning in doubt or fear, take a moment to return to that still place within you. Remind yourself, you've survived so much already. You've been through storms you thought would break you, and yet here you are. That resilience, that strength, that's faith in action. Let your faith be your anchor. Let it steady you when the waves come. Let it remind you that not every storm lasts forever. That healing takes time, that miracles still happen in quiet, everyday ways, that every sunrise is proof of new beginnings, and above all, let faith live in your actions, in how you treat others, in how you speak to yourself, in how you keep showing up even when things are hard, because that quiet persistence, that gentle belief, that's where your power lives. So tonight, before you close your eyes, breathe deeply and remind yourself, I may not know what's ahead, but I trust that I'm being guided. I trust that I'm supported, and I trust that somehow, some way, I'm exactly where I need to be. That is faith, and it is more than enough. Each day, we hold ourselves to impossibly high standards. We wake up with a mental checklist of things we didn't do yesterday, things we're already behind on today, and things we're afraid we'll never accomplish tomorrow. We measure our worth by our productivity, our beauty, our ability to meet expectations that often weren't even ours to begin with. And at the end of the day, when we finally lie down, instead of peace, we often find guilt. Guilt for not doing enough, guilt for not being enough, guilt for simply being human. But here's a radical truth. You do not need to earn your right to rest. You do not need to have a perfect day to deserve kindness, especially from yourself. You are not a machine, you are not a project. You are a living, breathing, feeling person. And above all else, you need grace. Not the kind of grace that's performative or poetic, but the kind that meets you in the quiet moments when you're alone with your thoughts. The kind that doesn't ask you to justify your existence. The kind that says, even if today was messy, even if you didn't get everything done, even if you weren't your best self, you're still worthy. There is a pressure, especially in this digital world, to present a perfect version of your life, but perfection is a lie. It's a moving target that will never truly satisfy you. What's real is effort. What's real is intention. And even if the outcome didn't go the way you hoped, it doesn't erase the heart you put into trying. You deserve to give yourself grace for the times you were tired but kept going anyway. For the times you were overwhelmed but still showed up. For the times you didn't know what to say or do, but you cared deeply. That matters. You matter. We are taught to be our own harshest critics. But what if we chose to be our own biggest supporters instead? What if, before we go to sleep each night, we replaced judgment with compassion? What if we forgave ourselves for the things we didn't get right today and promised to simply try again tomorrow with love, not pressure? You cannot shame yourself into a better version of who you are. Growth rooted in self-hate is fragile, but growth rooted in self-respect, in patience, in kindness, that's lasting. That's real. Offering grace to yourself doesn't mean you stop striving or caring. It means you stop punishing yourself for not being perfect. It means you stop expecting yourself to be unbreakable. You can be strong and still have moments where you fall apart. You can be successful and still feel unsure. You can be kind to others and still struggle to be kind to yourself. But it's in those quiet, tender moments when you choose to speak softly to your heart instead of harshly that healing begins. You begin to rebuild trust with yourself. You begin to understand that worth doesn't come from what you do, it comes from who you are. Before you go to sleep tonight, let go. Let go of the list of things you didn't finish. Let go of the mistakes that replay in your mind. Let go of the pressure to wake up tomorrow and be superhuman. Just be here now. Just breathe. You are allowed to be a work in progress and still be proud of who you are. You are allowed to take up space, even when you don't feel your best. You are allowed to ask for help, to start over, to rest, to feel, all of it. So speak to yourself like someone you love, because you are someone worth loving. Treat your heart like it's worth protecting. Talk to yourself like you're talking to a dear friend, someone who's doing their best to figure it out, someone who's trying to navigate this complicated, beautiful, exhausting life with as much grace as possible. You're doing better than you think. You've already survived so much, and every time you choose love over criticism, softness over shame, you're healing tonight. Offer yourself the kind of grace you so freely give to others. Not because you checked everything off your list, not because you were perfect, but simply because you exist. And that is always enough. You are not alone. In a world that's always moving, always talking, always performing, always scrolling, it's surprisingly easy to feel completely isolated. You could be surrounded by people, laughter, even love, and still carry a quiet ache inside your chest that whispers, "No one really understands me." That ache is heavy, it weighs on your soul, especially in the stillness of the night, when everything slows down and you finally have to sit with your thoughts. But even in those quiet, aching moments, especially in those moments, you need to know this. You are not alone. Everyone carries something. Everyone has a story they're not telling. Behind the smiles, behind the curated posts, behind the small talk, people are wrestling with heartbreak, doubt, fear, grief, confusion. You are not the only one. And even if it feels like no one notices your struggle, even if no one has said the words out loud, you are seen, you are known, and you are never walking through this life without purpose or without presence. There is something sacred about our pain when we allow ourselves to share it. Vulnerability can be terrifying, but it's also the bridge that connects us. When you open up, when you say, "I'm not okay," or "I'm going through something," you give someone else permission to do the same. You create space for honesty, for healing, for truth. That's how loneliness starts to fade, when someone reaches across the gap and says, "Me too." But you don't always have to explain yourself to feel supported. Sometimes it's not about the words, it's about the energy. It's about the people who sit with you in silence, who don't need answers, who don't need you to be cheerful or productive. They just stay. And if you haven't found those people yet, don't give up. They exist and they will come. But while you wait, hold on to the one person who can truly walk with you every step of the way: yourself. You are stronger than you know. You've made it through things you once thought you wouldn't survive. There were nights when the sadness felt unbearable, mornings when getting out of bed felt like the biggest victory, and yet you did. You showed up. You kept going, even when you were scared, even when you didn't have all the answers. That resilience, that's your strength. That's your light. And that's a reminder that you're not as alone as your fear tells you. You're also surrounded by invisible support, whether it's the prayers of someone who loves you, the memory of a kind word that stayed in your heart, or the way the universe gently nudges you through signs, songs, and synchronicities. Pay attention to those little reminders, the text that arrived just when you needed it, the stranger who smiled at you on a hard day, the way your favorite song played at the perfect moment. That's not coincidence. That's connection. That's life reminding you, you still held. And sometimes the reminder comes not from outside, but from deep within. That quiet inner voice, that small whisper that says, "Don't give up." That's your spirit. That's your intuition. That's the part of you that refuses to be defeated. And when you're overwhelmed, when the world feels too heavy, you can return to that place within. You can breathe, you can ground yourself, you can remind yourself that even in solitude, you are supported. Please know this: needing people doesn't make you weak. Asking for help isn't a burden. Expressing your feelings doesn't make you dramatic. You were not meant to carry everything alone. Connection is part of our design. And even if you've been hurt, even if you've been let down, it's still safe to hope. It's still safe to open up again, little by little, in your own time. So tonight, if you're feeling alone, remind yourself of the truth. You are connected to something greater. You are a part of this wild, beautiful, complicated human experience. And somewhere out there, someone is thinking of you. Someone is rooting for you. Someone would be devastated if you weren't here. You matter more than you know. The loneliness you feel doesn't define you. It's just a chapter. And just like every other chapter, it won't last forever. New connections are waiting, new healing, new love, new light. For now, let your breath be proof that you're not alone. Let your heartbeat remind you that you are alive for a reason. You are not forgotten, you are not invisible, you are never truly alone, you are deeply, deeply loved.